12:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are 16 hours past the Royal Rumble 2025. Now, just a quick notice: if you're not a pro wrestling fan, if you happen to know me, or you know my artwork, or my filmmaking, or my wonderful novel, Fight or Play Basketball, I'm not going to talk about any of that great stuff. I'm going to talk about the world of pro wrestling, and therefore this video is for pro wrestling fans, and that's why we're here. Royal Rumble 2025. First off, overall, good show. Overall, quality show. There are some things to pick apart, which I will. And there's some generational gaps to discuss, which I will. And JEY USO winning the men's Royal Rumble, I will discuss in a moment. And if you happen to be watching this live, you can chime in with your thoughts and opinions and feelings and emotions. First thing I had an issue with, even before the show started, there was a lot of disparity on the start time of this show. I don't know if things are just getting lax with WWE and how they control the media, or people, being informed of their stuff. But basically, it was hard to figure out when this show was going to start, because some places it said 7 p.m. Some places it said 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Obviously, the show took place in Indianapolis. I'm not sure. I think they're not quite West Coast time, but the time before that, whatever that's called, Central perhaps. But in any event, there was a lot of disparity online between, and when they show this, when they say the show starts, does that mean the actual matches are starting, or the pre-show, or what? So the point is, I got in the home around 6:20 p.m. thinking the show is starting at 7, thinking I'd have a little bit of a downtime before the show began. It actually started at 6. So when I turned the TV on, and actually this is a little trick that I do. Sometimes I'll put the TV on because it takes so goddamn long to get your streaming or your Peacock or your whatever the fuck on. I put the TV channel, the TV on before I go out. If I know I'm going to come back in a few hours, I'll have the TV ready to go, so I don't have to fiddle fuck with the streaming or the antenna or whatever. So basically, I come in, the Rumble's ready to go. I just have to push the volume on, which I did, and we're at like lady number 9. Lash Legend comes in. I've seen Lash Legend many times. I go to these NXT shows. If you want to see some NXT photos you've never seen anywhere else, go to the shorts section on One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan YouTube channel. I take so many photos of these NXT people. And Lash Legend, I've been saying it for a couple of years, she looks like she's ready for the big time to me. And they make such a big deal about Jade Cargill. I actually think Lash Legend might be a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, maybe a little bit better, because she is quite impressive. So she comes in and she's doing her thing, and everybody's going after different people. And the Women's Rumble, I don't think it was anything out of the ordinary. I mean, Charlotte winning and Charlotte being gone for so long, that's fine. I mean, she doesn't quite, I mean, every time you see Charlotte, I'm wondering which Charlotte are we going to see, meaning that her face looks different. I mean, do you remember a couple of years ago, maybe 5 or 6 at this point, there was like a Monday Night Raw when Charlotte came on the show. This is kind of a funny comment. Are you the Hawk Tua girl? I'm not. But thanks for asking, T. Newstrom. Do I look like the fucking Hawk Tua girl? But basically, Charlotte Flair comes back to Raw 5 or 6 years ago, and she looked like a different person. Like, she looked like she had some type of plastic surgery on her nose. She looked like a different person for a few episodes of Raw, and then she kind of came back and kind of looked normal. So, hello, Cheesecake. Hello, Assassin961. You want me to say something? I don't know if I can say that. It seems like some fraternity thing, or maybe it's something you're trying to get me to get quoted on or something. I don't know what if you pay me, I guess I would say it. But in any event, Charlotte Flair comes in. You've got your Baileys. You've got all these NXT ladies. Jordynne Grace was a big deal. She's another one who looks different. Jordynne Grace has lost weight. She's more sculpted. Cornette was kind of mean to her a couple of years ago, calling her a butterface, which might be accurate. But Jordynne Grace did get good old Piper Niven up on her back and so forth. Watching this Rumble, I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice if they did like a romance angle with Piper Niven and Otis? I mean, it kind of writes itself. There was a sitcom years ago, I never watched it, called Mike and Molly. And I guess that's how that lady Molly, whatever her fucking name is, got to be big, the comedic actress. But Otis and Piper Niven, like they just like bump into each other and they kind of look at each other. And Sakabita Sigma. Okay, I said it. So there you go. I said your Sakabita Sigma. So if there's any interesting things that happen, that's fine. But Otis and Piper Niven would be a cute, like, romantic angle. Like, basically, they're both, I mean, because they're both big and white and fat. And they're both round. And, I mean, I think they would be, like, a cute couple. Like, if you go into any, thank you for subscribing, Cheesecake. If you go to any bowling alley in the United States, there are plenty of couples every single weekend, every single night of the week, that look like Otis and Piper Niven. I think it would be a cute thing. And I think that, I mean, I guess I'm playing Yenta matchmaker here for these wrestlers, but I could definitely see them being a real life couple. I mean, he's big and fat, she's big and fat. They're both round and spectacular. And I think that would be wonderful. Chelsea Green had some good comedic moments in the Women's Rumble. I think there was a moment where, look, I mean, we're not beyond it. It's racially generated humor. Of course, the announcers can't say that. I have not watched 600-Pound Life, and there's a reason for that, Cheesecake. Cheesecake has a good side topic talking about Otis and Piper Niven. I don't watch 600-Pound Life because I feel bad for the people. I mean, look, you can see that I've got big arms. I'm a man of stature. I'm a huge individual. I'm bigger than most of these wrestlers you see on television. But, you know, at least I'm here at the gym right now. I'm about to go into it. I watch my levels, my numbers, all that good stuff. I try to stay in good condition. In the United States, at least, it's hard because our food supply is really full of chemicals, processed food, corn syrup. Even the organic food market is usually a crock of shit. So it's hard to, like, you know, stay in decent shape in the USA, just being an average person who can't afford to have a personal chef all the goddamn time. But that being said, I don't watch that show, Cheesecake, because I think I would be depressed. You know what I mean? Like, because I've seen clips of it, sure. And I think it's hard to, like, watch a show like that and not really get depressed. And I guess in some sick way, I might feel better about myself because I'm tipping in at 285 these days. And I'm a big guy, but for me to watch these 600-pound people struggle with diabetes or struggle with heart conditions, and I don't know on those shows, and you can tell me, Cheesecake, do they ever show like people dying? Like, do they ever have like a series with a 600-pound person and then halfway through the taping, the person has a heart attack and dies? So I don't know if I would watch that show. In other words, I don't watch that show. I look like a normal cake. Well, I appreciate that. I hope that's a compliment. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Let's go back to the show. The tag team thing. Charlotte wins. Fine. So I'm assuming Charlotte Flair is going to pick Rhea Ripley. And now we have like a trifecta. Like, I guess every 2 or 3 years, Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair wrestle for a title. Who would even be the other champion? I mean, I was just saying, women's Intercontinental title, women's US title, 2 women's world titles, 2 NXT women's titles. It's too many goddamn women's titles, no offense. But I think it's definitely going to be Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. Would that match get a main event on night 1 or night 2? I don't know. But I think that if promoted properly, the tiebreaker, Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley, would be interesting. Let's move forth to the tag team match. The only thing I can really say about this, and guys, I'm just going to be completely honest with you. I go to the NXT live shows. I watch the premium live events. I did watch the Netflix debut of Raw. I do, watch the YouTube stuff. I don't watch these shows religiously anymore. This, I believe, was the first time I've seen the Motor City Machine Guns in WWE. I know that might be a radical thought for you, but I just haven't caught them. And I don't know if they've been on pay-per-view, premium live event before. I don't know. But here they were, the Motor City Machine Guns. Do they still do the palm thing? I remember seeing them. I've met those guys. Basically TNA did kind of a hybrid show 15 years ago in Worcester, Mass, where they teamed up with some local promotion. And both of those guys are nice guys. Do you think you could win a fist fight if the other person had a gun? That's an interesting question. Probably not. I mean, if they weren't afraid to pull it, I think a gun's going to be a fist every single time, Cheesecake. But moving forth with this, the fucking Motor City Machine Guns, it's nice to see them there. They're wrestling Tommaso Ciampa and the other one, and Mr. Wrestling, Johnny Gargano. Tommaso Ciampa, I've known in real life. He used to wrestle in Top Rope Promotions out of Webster, Massachusetts, or Fall River, Massachusetts. I was the commentator. Tommaso in real life was always really respectful to me. He was a nice guy. And he was always a guy who, if there was 300 or 400 people in these venues, he would bust his ass to put forth a good match. He was always, I honestly think I probably saw the best work of his career, Tommaso Ciampa's, in Top Rope Promotions 10 or 15 years ago. And unfortunately, the guy's had a lot of neck injuries, but he's really a hardworking guy. And it's good to see him in this tag team title match. And then, was it the Street Profits came out? And this is where things get so convoluted. You could hear that Michael Cole is literally, as the kids say, explaining the storyline to the commentators, like why are they here, blah blah blah. Anyway, it was fine. It did seem like they kind of rushed that 2 out of 3 falls match. What happened next? The ladder match, I'm probably skipping a match, but the Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens match is well worth a second look. I mean, I think I would probably make the effort to watch that one again. I thought it was very good. I thought it was a throwback to the TLC days of Edge and Christian and the Dudleys, and I thought those guys earned their money. There's been kind of some reports, some denials that Cody Rhodes suffered a legitimate injury in the match, not a storyline injury. I don't know the inside scoop on that. I mean, it would be very unfortunate if Cody had suffered like a legitimate injury, like he just can't wrestle. You know what I mean? Because I think with WrestleMania coming up and Cody was right in the middle of it, there's still time to do something else. Obviously, there's obviously time to switch gears. But if Cody, if it happens to be a legitimate injury, if he happens to miss some ring time, it's really bad timing, you know what I mean? And of course, you could always do the thing where the guy's injured and then he does a comeback and he gets his match at SummerSlam. But I wouldn't say I feel bad about it, but it is unfortunate if he's legitimately injured. But that's the price you pay for the life you lead. I thought there would be some type of thing, but I guess they're holding off on. I was assuming Sami Zayn was going to somehow like yell at Cody for being too brutal, or Sami and Cody are going to get into it, and we're going to have some type of Sami Zayn-Cody feud, and Sami's going to turn heel. That felt pretty obvious, but it didn't happen. It didn't play out, but there's still time to play it out. There's so many shows now. Let's get to the title of this video, and thank you for those that have hung in here, even with your jokes and so forth. It's fine. Why does Jey Uso why does it not bother me? Like, why am I... First off, I'm emotionally detached. I don't care as much as I used to. Second off, this is not for me or for you anymore. You know, depending on your age, gentlemen, some of you might be a lot younger than me, and you're still kind of in your prime time of wrestling viewership. But for me, I still love pro wrestling. I still watch WWE and AEW and everything. But, you know, I'm doing my own thing in life, and I can't get that emotionally connected like I used to. That being said, I can recognize that Jey Uso is very popular with the younger people. I mean, the yeet is over. Do I appreciate it? Not really. Do I understand it? Not really. It's just another thing like Steve Austin and Yes, you know, the Yes thing, or not. What did Austin do? God. What was the thing? What? Sorry, I got Bryan Danielson and Daniel Bryan and the Yes and Austin mixed up. The joys of dyslexia. But Steve Austin and the What from 25 years ago, and Daniel Bryan with the Yes from 10, 15 years ago. That's the same thing with this yeet thing. And so the guy that is behind it, you know, the Uso, Jey Uso, he's benefiting from a chant, a callback, a t-shirt, a slogan, a mantra, and it's over. And, you know, for whatever reason, Jey Uso and to an extent his brother, Jimmy, they've been immune from their bad behavior. I mean, they've had DUIs in the past. I think we're talking 4 or 5 years ago. I guess these guys finally learned how to call Uber. But, you know, these are not guys that I would particularly put as on a pedestal as heroes with their drunken antics. But for whatever reason, the WWE hasn't really, let them go. They've stuck with the Usos. You could say it's because they're, related to Rikishi and The Rock and all this stuff, but JC is upset that Jey won. He's old as well. He's 40. So just to play counterpoint with you, JC, if they are going to pull the trigger on Jey Uso, and basically this is a Kofi Kingston run. This is a Kingston from 2019. You probably remember, got it wasn't that short. It was like an 8 or 9 month title run from basically WrestleMania 2019 all the way until October when he lost to Brock in 9 seconds. But, Kofi Kingston got a run with the title. And now that they have 2 world titles again, they don't have to be so specific with who's your number one guy in the brand. And what I'm assuming is going to happen, gentlemen, is that Jey Uso is going to come out on Raw. He's going to tease a match with Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. Then good old Gunther's going to interrupt. Gunther's going to say, of course you're going to fight Cody Rhodes because you know you can't beat me. And they're basically going to switch the angle, on the spot to Jey Uso challenging Gunther. If we're going to go with a surprise pick, why not choose a young upcomer like Braun or Carmelo? I don't know if either guy is ready yet. Or let's put it this way, JC. Does Triple H, does the WWE think that they're ready? They handed it to Charlotte. I'm upset about that. And here's the thing, guys. I think, like I said, Charlotte, I think, is going to get pushed to fight Rhea Ripley, and it's basically the third of a trilogy. They've each won one, and Charlotte, the nepotism. That's the word. The word nepotism, basically implies getting favorable treatment because of your family. And if you look at Charlotte Flair, that's the Flair family. If you look at the Usos, that's the Rock family, the Island guys, the Samoan dynasty, the bloodline. Braun is more ready than Jey. I can't really argue with you, JC. I'm just telling you that this Yeet thing is over. And so for this is not for me and you, like the intelligent, cynical, smart wrestling fan that actually thinks about this stuff. This is for the 13-year-old kid who goes out and he buys a fucking Yeet t-shirt. He sees the Yeet t-shirt. They probably have them at Walmart or Temu, or he goes to the WWE official shirt, or he buys it at a house show. And he's wearing the Yeet t-shirt, and like some other kids at school give him the Yeet, and like that's like the inside joke amongst these kids, and the teachers don't know what the hell Yeet means. That's who this Jey Uso run is for. This is not for the intelligent wrestling fan. This is for, the 13-year-old wrestling fan, the 9-year-old wrestling fan, the 15-year-old maybe. This is for the youngsters in the crowd who, 10 years ago, they might have just started watching wrestling at age 6 or 7 or whatever, and Jey Uso and his brother were always there. They were always in the mix for the tag team title, fighting the New Day. We've already seen Jey as a main eventer. He has, Jey and Jimmy Uso main evented WrestleMania a few years ago against Kevin Owens and Sammy. And during the pandemic, Jey Uso was kind of handpicked to wrestle his cousin Roman Reigns in some of Roman Reigns' first title defenses. Once I believe he had the Universal title first, and they had a couple of 2 or 3 pay-per-view match with Jey Uso. Jey is not a good role model. Yeah, I've talked about that, buddy. He's had several DUIs. I've done a video on this channel, one of my most viewed videos, a short about the Usos being drunks and alcoholics, and you can find it somewhere on YouTube, I'm sure, of Jey Uso and I believe it's Jey, right? And Uso and his wife, Naomi, having an interaction with the police. So, I'm not arguing with the point, buddy, but the thing is, this is not for me and you, the intelligent fan. This is for the young fan. This is for the fans of tomorrow. This is just not us. He uses the N-word as well. I don't know if that's documented. You'd have to tell me, buddy, when he's used the N-word. Does he have some leeway because he's, Samoan and the Rock's in the family? I don't know. I'm just speculating. But you tell me, because I haven't seen him use the N-word, at least not on television, but unless the arrest videos, I really don't know. But in any event, Jey Uso, he's not my personal favorite. It's more for the drunk driving stuff. He's not in great shape. I did notice during the Royal Rumble that they were making jabs at Jimmy Uso. They were calling him Big Jim. and also making references to Rikishi and the butt splash and stuff, and the you know, the shake your ass in the guy's face. So basically, once you start getting compared to your obese father, you know, making a callback here to the 600-pound life program that Cheesecake likes so much. But basically, they're making a reference to Jey Uso or Jimmy Uso as being like in the footsteps of his fat father. They're really trying to marginalize Jimmy Uso. They're really trying to tell you that Jimmy Uso is overweight and he's not as good as Jey Uso, and somehow Jey Uso has the shine on him. And I have wondered about that over the years. Why is Jey Uso the beneficiary of the Uso singles push? Why is Jey Uso the Shawn Michaels of the Usos, and Jimmy is the lowly Marty Jannetty? The only reason I can think is maybe Jey Uso just wants it more. You know what I mean? And maybe behind the scenes, Jey Uso is just a better, more into it. I gotta drink some water. I'm talking so much. JC has some insights, and I do appreciate that. They were calling him Big Jim because Naomi told Liv that she calls Jimmy Big Jim. Okay. All right, that's fair. So it's basically a penis reference, or just like a loving wife, you know, putting over her husband. Okay. It was on Twitter yesterday before the Rumble. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's good. Thanks, JC, for clearing that up. I thought it was more of an insult, but it just sounds like it's a little, you know, I don't understand the term tongue-in-cheek, because I was just about to say it. What the fuck does that mean? I mean, somebody explain to me what tongue-in-cheek means. I hate that expression, but it's basically like a double reference, a double entendre. Naomi is basically bragging about her husband. You know, he's Big Jim. So I guess it was Jim Uso or Jimmy Uso in that cop video, not Jay. Okay. But she's basically telling her, another one of the little female wrestlers, Liv Morgan, like, that she's sexually satisfied because her husband has a big cock in his pants and he fucks her with it. So I guess that's the whole joke of it. So in any event, I don't know. Speaking of Liv Morgan, she looked good in that Women's Rumble. She always looks good. I kind of thought maybe she would win. She was in it for so long. But I don't know. I mean, overall, folks, the one thing about the Men's Rumble that pissed me off, there was a few things. Let me go back to the Women's Rumble, what pissed me off. Those head kicks looked really bad. Like some of the female head kicks. I'm trying to think of exactly who threw it. Was it Jordan Grace? Was it somebody else? Like, just some of the head kicks were so far away from people's actual heads. There was also a thing around the 9th or 10th or 11th thing where one woman was trying to, like, was it Piper Nevin or somebody, or I think it was Lash Legend actually. She was swinging one of the females around, and I think one of the Japanese ladies came running in to, like, get bonked, and it was poorly timed, and it was so choreographed. And even good old Michael Cole, the pitch man that he is, he couldn't not call it. He said something like, I don't know what that was supposed to be. I mean, they just try so much, the wrestlers today, to make these choreographed spots that it's really very bad, because a lot of times the wrestlers don't seem to know, like, first off, they're just not that good with doing the spots that they want to do sometimes. And then when it fails or when it goes wrong, they're really not good about covering it up. They're really not, they seem like they just want to do a retake like they're in a movie, and they don't seem to fully appreciate that this is supposed to be a replicant of an actual sporting contest, a fight of some kind, and they just try to get their spot back. And we've seen that for years. JC's gonna basically summarizing what I'm saying here: spot wrestling and not enough chain wrestling. Exactly, JC. Well put. I mean, so stuff like, for the old school wrestling fans who remember guys like fucking Bob Roop and Mike Jackson, like this preliminary guy from Georgia Championship Wrestling, these guys could wrestle circles around some of these people who are big stars now, because these big stars are really being trained to be, quote, sports entertainers from the WWE factory, and they don't have the ability to think on the fly and to cover things up had they had wrestled in the lowly, smoke-filled arenas of 30 or 40 years ago that Vince McMahon Jr. hated so much. I mean, the wrestlers today, I mean, they're A lot of them look great. A lot of them are very well-trained meat puppets of the WWE system, but they can't think. I do appreciate you subscribing, JC. There's a ton of comments, content on here, wrestling clips, NXT clips, all types of fun things. I just interviewed Nikita Breznikov a few nights ago. What else can I say? So the women's head kicks were really poorly done. And then in the men's rumble, there was so many moments, guys, and you can point them out. What's up, Ian Patrick Gagnon, my buddy there, Gonzo. I was just getting to another point of, and Ian caught up with the rumble. He was watching on tape delay, and I was telling him, man, don't check your social media. These assholes will give everything away. But I'm trusting Ian Gonzo Shark that you are fully caught up. There were so many minutes and moments of the men's rumble where guys were just staring at each other. Like Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins have this deep interlude where they just look into each other's eyes, and all the history of the Shield comes pouring back. They did it so much, I was kind of half expecting a Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley appearance, to be honest with you. I just thought it'd be interesting if somehow the WWE, with all their Triple H inspired, friendships with TNA and Japan and everybody else now, I thought, fuck it, why not throw Moxley in there? Like, why not have Moxley and Tony Khan come to the ring together? But I don't know. There was CM Punk had a stare down. There was like John Cena, who really is so goddamn annoying. John Cena really is the Jimmy Fallon of professional wrestling. He's always putting everything over like he's a kid on Christmas morning. John Cena was just jumping for joy when he's having these little stare downs with everybody. The end of the Rumble, some people had some issues with. I mean, was it the fact that Cena and Jey Uso were fighting on the apron, and they were kind of doing that thing of I punch you, you punch me, Testo Talon. I'm wondering where these sound bites are going, but can I say Testo Talon? Sure, I just said it. And I hope that I'm not being AI'd into some type of humiliating experience here. But there was some other request earlier, Salvatore. Nice to see you here, buddy. I don't quite get just that stupid thing. Cornette's pointed it out where two wrestlers punch each other. I punch you, you sell the punch, and then I wait patiently for you to punch me. Nobody in their goddamn right mind is going to have a street fight or a boxing match or anything where one guy punches the other one and the other asshole just stands there and then you wait for the other guy to give you a receipt. There was one point where the camera was close up on Rollins, and then they did a focus pull on Roman, staring at him from the other side of the ring, and then the focus pull back to Rollins. That was some great shit, in my opinion. Salvatore, I'm a big YouTuber from Turkey. I'll be sure and subscribe, Salvatore, and see what you're up to. Nobody does that shit better than WWE. So Ian's taking the opposite side here. He likes the stare downs. He likes these dramatic moments. Just too many of them. Too many of them in one match is my point. I mean, if they had just done the Roman Seth one that you said, and maybe like a CM Punk Cena one, okay. But this, and I just watched some YouTube clips of recent WWE stuff. CM Punk and Cody just had like a pretty good promo thing, and they were doing all the stares. And it always comes to me, guys, that the wrestlers are just so looking forward or just hoping they get the Rock, Hogan, Raw cheer. The pop from Hogan and Rock when the NWO 2002 came into WWE, and Hogan and Rock had a segment on Raw, not at the WrestleMania, but before that, the night that Hogan and hit him with the hammer in the head or whatever the fuck. But that first promo of The Rock and Hogan, when the fans were legitimately losing their fucking shit, that's what these guys all want. They're desperate for it. But you put Cody Rhodes and fucking Drew McIntyre in the ring together, nobody gives a shit as much as The Rock and Hogan. It's just not the same thing. And it's like these guys, these top-tier guys, and yeah, you have some interesting characters now. You have AJ Styles was kind of lost in the sauce last night. I mean, when they had that whole Cody, it wasn't Cody, it was CM Punk, Cena, and Roman were all together, but AJ Styles was still in the Rumble, and they didn't even mention AJ Styles at that point. So Ian Patrick Gagnon says he liked that one. I agree with there's too much of that shit too. That's all I'm saying. Like, I like one or two stare downs a Rumble. Hogan Warrior 1990 or 91 actually. Hogan Warrior 1991. That was a good stare down in a Rumble. do it once, but if you do it for every fucking possible combination, it starts, I mean, honestly, it feels a little weird. It feels a little homoerotic, or it feels a little just disingenuous, if nothing else. It's just, why are these guys staring into each other's souls so much? I mean, either you punch a guy in the fucking face, or you try to eliminate him, or you shake his goddamn hand, but you don't stare at somebody. What the fuck are you staring at? Rey Mysterio, I think it would, I mean, look, if the commentary was really free to catch up on some of this shit, it could have been hilarious. Because Rey Mysterio's trying to shake everybody's goddamn hand. Why are you trying to shake everybody's fucking hand? It's a goddamn Royal Rumble. It's every fucking man for himself, Rey. You've been around the block. You've won one of these things in the past. Why are you trying to shake Penta's hand? Why are you trying to shake this asshole's hand? It's a fucking Rumble, Rey. Do I have to sit there and explain the rules to you? I agree with you. Too many of these state halts, too many of these stare downs halt the action and feels very forced. Exactly. That's all I'm saying. It's just, you're milking it. And when, the other thing for me, guys, with premium live events especially, but really for all of WWE content, when Michael Cole is doing commentary, I really have to put my conditioners on to absorb him. I really don't enjoy Michael Cole's voice. I really feel like he's a goddamn chipmunk. I really feel like when he had Vince McMahon in his ear for 10 or 15 years or 20 years, that's a little bit more understandable. But now he's just free. And so now there's no excuse. Like, we can't blame Vince for making Michael Cole a horrible commentator. Michael Cole, in my opinion, I don't like his enthusiasm. It feels very contrived. It sounds like he thinks he's calling something. I don't know. I guess he's doing a good job because he sounds like he's actually sold that this shit is all reality. But there's just a little bit of, I don't know. I just hate his fucking voice is what it comes down to it. There is one Michael Cole call that I do like. I like if you want to guess, what's the one running Michael Cole call that I enjoy? You want to guess? It's vintage Randy Orton. I do find, for whatever the fuck reason, when Michael Cole says vintage Randy Orton, like, I think that's pretty good. Like, I give him credit. I think that's a good call. And every time he does it, I get a little bit of a pop out of it. I get a little bit of enjoyment when because it makes sense. And like, I think Randy Orton has earned that call. He's earned the vintage Randy Orton call, although he's been saying it for probably 12 years now. But I did like back in whenever the fucks, 2010, 2008, I liked Taz and Michael Cole as a commentary team on SmackDown. For whatever reason, I thought that Michael Cole worked the best with Taz. I thought Taz leveled Michael Cole, like the annoyance of Michael Cole's calls was tempered a bit by Taz. And I don't think Taz is an all-time great commentator either, but I thought Taz and Michael Cole, you call it chemistry, or maybe they were real-life friends, or whatever the fuck it was. I liked Taz and Michael Cole together, but Cole and the King, Cole and Lawler, Cole with these guys, I really feel like Patrick, whatever the fuck, and Tattoo Neck, they're too much alike for me. You know, whatever the fuck was going on with Corey Graves, is that over now? Did they put him in the room and shut him up? I mean, did they tape his mouth shut? Did they, threaten him or whatever the fuck they had to do to get him to fall in line? But I don't know. I mean, you would think that this guy, he was never that good in the first place. He got a hot wife out of it. I'm talking about Tattoo Neck. He got a hot wife that he's impregnated. He should just be happy to get a paycheck. But I don't really like Corey Graves as much as you think I might. So that's it, folks. I feel like, once again, to answer the question, why did Jey Uso win this thing? They're doing Kofi Mania Jey Uso version. It's just, they might even give this guy a run. They might have him beat Gunther. Actually, what they could do is they could have him lose to Gunther at Mania and then somehow hang around and maybe get the title at SummerSlam. And then they could lose it for October, November. You know what I mean? So I just feel like I'm basically predicting that Jey Uso will get some type of World Heavyweight title run, the Gunther version, not the Cody version. And I don't think it's going to stop the world. I think it's just something that they will do just to see how it pans out. And then it will be over. That's it, folks. MikeMessier.com. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the new subscribers. Gonzo Cheesecake, Salvatore, thanks for checking in, guys. Plenty of content.